everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and today we're going to take a look at a case that has been fascinating many people, and it is the case of what they call the killer grandma. I'm always amazed how they always use grandma when it's an older woman who happens to have grandkids. They often don't run around saying killer grandpa or killer dad, killer mom when they're killing other people. But for some reason, when it turns out to be a woman of this age, she turns into killer grandma. Well, her name was Lois Riess. Well, her name is Lois Riess. She's still alive. So I'm going to get into, it's not a whodunit. We know she done did it. We know she did it twice. She killed two people. I'm going to read you the opening from Wikipedia in a minute, just so those who have no familiarity with the case will get a little bit of insight. And then I'm going to go through the case, and I'm going to be looking specifically on a couple of things. One, what is she? Did she snap? Was she going to become a serial killer? Like some said, we better stop her after she's killed two people. She's going to become a serial killer. What was her kind of crime? And then what kind of mental issues does she have? And all of you are going, I bet Pat's going to say something that starts with the letter P. We shall find out. Anyway, so this is what we're going to be talking about today. And I want to welcome everybody who is in the chat room. This is a live show for Patreon. And hello, everyone. So the woman was shockingly depraved. Okay, Caitlin, that killer grandma again. She was in her 50s. Well, you can be a grandma in your 50s or even in your 40s, but it's always funny how they use that when it comes to women. I think it's because no one thinks a grandma should do such terrible things. That somehow, it's both shocking and also it's to say, oh, maybe she's not as bad as all that. I've seen that used with older women who are transporting drugs, and they'll call them, oh, this grandma took these drugs, as if, oh, she wasn't such a bad person because she's a grandma. No, she's a crappy grandma. If you're transporting drugs, you suck, So if you're the type of grandma who kills people, you suck as a grandma. That's my first opinion out here. So, wow. Like Clarissa says, my grandmother was 37 when I was born. That is young. Wow. Amazing. Okay, so let me do the needful before I start the show. And I just want to say that if you'd like to be in the chat room, please click the link below for Patreon. It's $5 a month. There are 2 live shows a week. This case show on the weekend and a hangout during the week. They're patron only, so that keeps our community really nice and we get to know each other, and keeps the chat room peaceful. So do join. That helps this educational channel survive. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Please do subscribe to the channel. All of my shows are public. Once the live is done, everything is public. So you're not going to miss anything. I want people to learn. So please subscribe to the channel. That will be very, very helpful. And like the videos and click the bell for notifications and so on and so forth. Okay, now let's get to this case. All right. Here we are. Okay, so let's see. This is an interesting comment. Hold on a second. Oh, sorry, not that one. Here. She really wasn't bothered by killing two people. And you have a point there. We're going to get into her behaviors, which for someone who snapped are quite unusual, shall we say. All right, let me give you the basics of this case. Lois Ann Riess, as an American convicted murderer and former fugitive. In 2018, she gained nationwide notoriety. It's funny, I don't even remember this. I didn't even remember this crime. It's weird. Now, it's funny because I lived in Minnesota where she killed her husband at, and I lived there from 2003 to 2007. So I lived there 4 years in Minnesota, but in 2018 this happened and I never even heard about it. So go figure. In 2018, she gained nationwide notoriety after being accused of killing her husband in Minnesota and a woman in Florida. That would be her husband. That would be the woman in Florida, prompting a cross-country manhunt. Nicknamed the Killer Grandma and losing streak Lois, because she was a gambler and she lost a lot of money gambling. She also made a lot of money gambling. So I'm never quite sure how that equaled out. And that's the whole gambling thing I'm going to point out is this really the issue of what caused her to, quote, snap? Then her case drew a widespread attention due to its shocking details and her ability to elude law enforcement for weeks. Okay, so that's what she did. I want to start so we can understand some of this by going back to her. Caitlin says, I did not realize she did both killings. Yes, or how she was caught. The documentary was interesting, to say the least. Yes, there's 2 documentaries. Let me point them out. She was caught in Texas. She was. And I'll have some pictures of that. I want to point out the 2 documentaries. One is this one. It was NBC News. Oddly enough, if you go over to Peacock, where Dateline is at, this one show is missing from the season. And I never understand why they do that. So I'm not sure what caused that. But I did find this on NBC News at 12 parts. And it was interesting because it had some things in there that weren't in the other documentaries. So I enjoyed watching it. Some people say they can't even watch it if they're from outside the country, outside the US. They use their VPN and couldn't access it. So the link is below, but good luck on that. The other one is this one, I Am Not a Monster, which is questionable. And this one is on Max, which is, I think, now Discovery/Max. They keep merging, and I can't remember which is merging. I saw it on Max. It got really bad ratings at IMDB. People thought it was boring, and I thought it was very interesting because she was interviewed, and I'm going to show you a number of things that she said during her interview, which is going to help you understand her personality and who she really is. And so I appreciate it for that. I found it interesting. So I didn't mind watching both of them. So those are the ones you can go check out. If you're new to this channel and you're new to this case and you are not here live, you can just, if you want to, just stop the video, go watch one of those, come back if you like. But I will explain the whole case to you. But you just won't be able to see the people in action because I don't put video up on my video. Because I hate getting YouTube crashed, demonetizing me and killing my channel because I use somebody else's material. So I just don't do it. It's safer, to not do that. So let's see. Oh. Well, that's an interesting comment. I noted no false eyelashes. She was trying to be approachable. There's a whole point about her, Lois, that when she went on the run and she was trying to get people, to help her out and whatever, she didn't wear an overdose of makeup. She did look very approachable. She's very friendly. And I'll tell you, I'm going to talk about her methodology of being friendly because I've run into this before and it's kind of fascinating. But people did put their guard down because she just seemed so harmless. So yeah, she has that's interesting. She has an air of smugness. Then some people did claim that one of the bartenders said she just seemed a little arrogant, pushy to her. But I'm sorry, I have to laugh at that. This maybe later says psychopaths go without makeup. Now, in case you're wondering why maybe later is saying this, in the hangout I just did, there was this very stupid that research thing done, and it came up with this, that women who wore a lot of makeup were narcissistic, but women who wore no makeup or very little makeup are psychopathic, which made no sense because psychopaths are narcissistic. So go figure, it's stupid to begin with. But I noted that a good portion of time I don't wear makeup, and I'm kind of like, here I do like 5 minutes because that's all I have the ability for. But that makes me a psychopath, just letting you know. So maybe it is true, but it's pretty funny. Anyway, let me go in. I want to talk a little bit about her background first, because this plays into who she might become and what people might think is reason she has some kind of mental disorder. And then it leads up to where she's where she was at when she committed the crimes. So, and let me show you a little picture here. This is when she was growing up. That's her mom on the left. Then she's got Lois is the youngest. And then there's Butch is the only, oh no, Butch and Bob, two boys. I'm trying to remember here. And then Kim and Cindy. Her mother was a basket case, basically. And it says, basic thing is she grew up the youngest child, mother supposedly bipolar and schizophrenic. Now, when I say supposedly because I don't have any access to materials that prove anything. Her father, IBM engineer father, made good money. And he left a lot of money to the kids, by the way, although she thought she didn't get her portion. She didn't like what she got. She thought the others got more. Anyway, he was rarely home. And that does seem to be true. And she claims the house was a hoarding house. And there's a teenage friend who says, yeah, it was like that. Her mother was a hoarder. She bought all this kind of crap. And then it's like you could hardly move through the house. Now, being a hoarder doesn't mean necessarily that you have a mental disorder. Just because I had a friend who was a very dear friend who was a great mom and a friendly person and didn't have any mental problems. And she was kind of a hoarder, And so yeah, that doesn't mean absolutely you got mental problems. But apparently she didn't like her house. She didn't have a home life, supposedly. Her childhood friends say she wanted fame when she was a teen. That's interesting. I think that is the most interesting comment from her teenage friends who liked her at the time. Now, mind you, she had a good personality. So she was likable to certain people. And she would go stay at friends' houses and she'd kind of run away and go stay with them because life at home sucks, supposedly. But she wanted fame. And how do you get fame? Fame is not an easy thing to get, but you can become famous in your circle. And this is something people don't understand. They always think about fame as, being on television, being in the movies, being a famous model, a singer or something. But you can be famous in your own town and in your own family by being the one everybody looks to, the one that stands out more than the others, the one that people can depend on, maybe So by putting yourself out there, you can become famous in a good way or in a not so good way. But fame is about attention. Now, again, some people just have such great hearts and they do wonderful things and they're not even seeking fame or attention. That's just who they are. And those are the kind of people you want in your family. Then you got the people a lot of times don't realize why they do what they do because they want that attention. So that idea of fame is a little bit more about attention. And that comes under, for a lot of females, Munchausen syndrome. Because Munchausen means that I'm seeking the attention. Now, Munchausen syndrome, we usually think of a person who lies about being raped, that they do injure themselves to say somebody else did it to them. Anything they can do to get attention. And then Munchausen syndrome by proxy, of course, is when you hurt your children so that you can get attention through the attention you get when the people say, oh my God, what happened to your child? Or going to the doctors all the time. And so you develop that. So there is this level of attention desire, which can be a sign of psychopathy, that always desiring that attention and being willing to do things that other people wouldn't be willing to do to get attention. And in her case, one of the things you're going to see is that she took care of people, always took care of people, took care of her children, took care of grandkids, her sisters, whatever. She always was, everybody said, oh, she always took care of everybody. She was selfless, some say. And we see that with other people. I did another show on, let's see, where is it? Oh, this show. On this is what happened to Aunt Diane, the Tacoma State Parkway crash. And one of the things about Aunt Diane, was that she did everything for everybody and took care of the kids and whoever. She was always the perfect one. And you see that with other types of women who have killed their children. Certain ones of them, people say we never thought that because she was always so perfect. She was a perfect mother. She was perfect, whatever. And so it's the desire to have to get that kind of attention. Sometimes that thrill wears off, which can be a problem for uh, anybody around her when the thrill does wear off. So she wanted to be famous when she was a teen. All right, so this is true. Some people thrive on being everything to everyone. Yep. This is interesting. Seemed like she was loud, but others in town were less than enthused by her. And I'll get into some of the viewpoints people had about her. And it varies. It does vary. For example, let me see, where are they at? These people. This is her niece, and she's in the I'm Not a Monster documentary, and she's in there heavily as, I just don't see how this could have happened. She just was a really nice, so she's very positive about her. And her kids notably aren't in the documentary, not her kids, but Lois's kids. Well, one is dead, and the other two weren't in it because apparently they don't want to have anything to do with her, as far as I can see. So, and then this was one of her best friends. Here she is. They're hanging out together, having all kinds of fun together. And she said she was shocked when it happened, but at least she admitted that there are she noticed certain issues with her along the way. And this was one of Lois's husband's friends. And he said, I think everybody knew she was a click off. So, yeah, so there was that. Some of those people saw something was not quite right, but because she was so cheerful and so giving and all these things, and she was always there helping, you don't want to think badly about somebody. You just think, well, you know what, if she's a little strange here and there, man, it's just her, it's just her. Yeah. But let's go back to when she's grown up. So she said, by the time I was 11, I was drinking and smoking and running away. Always an extrovert, funny, supposedly to cover what was happening in her home life. I don't think that was the reason. I think she wanted attention. All right. She claimed Dave quickly. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. She claimed Dave quickly. That wasn't what I meant to say. Let's see. So she gets, now she gets, and then she meets Dave, her husband. I think she was 21. He was 19, something like that. And they went on to have 3 children, which I find funny that they blur their faces out. Does that, like anybody would recognize them as adults, because of their child picture. It's stupid stuff. But anyway, those are the 3 kids they had. Now she says, which is interesting because nobody seemed to really say anything bad about this guy at all. She says, she claimed Dave quickly, after 2 kids, only went to work and didn't help in any way, including paying the bills. Then he started throwing things. And one of her good friends that shows up in one of these things, who says she's always on her side, said he was a bully and controlling, and she just gave in. Was she, a lot of times when people say that, that's also questionable whether they're seeing the two of them, him doing that with her, or whether they're alone with her and she's making claims. So a lot of people will make claims behind their spouse's back. So what, and which is not unlikely that one would do that. I mean, let's say your girlfriends get together and having a drink, and she's, how things going? You're like, he won't help around the house. He just told me I got to do this and that, and I just have to do this and that. She could be saying that. Doesn't mean it's true. Doesn't mean it's false, but doesn't mean it's necessarily true. It doesn't seem like the kids haven't said anything bad about him at all. Most people say nothing bad about him at all. The only thing they said is that later on, when the money problem started because of her, he started getting upset with her. Like, hey, you can't be spending money on that, and I'm not going to give you it, because she was at that time, she used to run daycare, and people said she was a good daycare person. And then she stopped doing it. She claims because he made her stop. I don't know that that's even true. But then she said, and then he controlled all my money. Well, the point that he did apparently not want her to spend money was when she was gambling, and he didn't want to give her the money to go gambling. I get it. So was he a bad person? I can find no proof. She was around people all the time, every day with daycare, going out all the time. Nobody said she had bruises. She didn't have broken bones. She wasn't making, the police weren't called to the house. So I think the most she could come up with is emotional abuse and that he threw things. And then again, neither one of these are provable. The kids haven't said anything about, yeah, dad used to like pitch stuff at her all the time. I mean, have a married couple had a fight and somebody picked up a dish and threw it against the wall? But that's happened, but that doesn't mean that's abuse. So as far as I can see, there's nothing extreme about him, okay, that would put her to the point where she said she snapped because of him, okay. And let's see, niece said she was a good caretaker and Dave was a great guy. Okay, so niece did say something nice about Dave. Let's see, children were her pride and joy, and she was always kind and loving. Which, by the way, after all this happened, her son, he came out and he did an interview. And let me see, where is he at? Hold on. Hold on a sec. Oh no, my picture's missing. No, okay, everybody have a drink. Everybody says they have a drink when I can't find one of my pictures. My picture is missing? Now I'm annoyed. What the heck? Hold on, I'm gonna go look for it. Hi, I'm back. That's the picture I was looking for, which I forgot to link up. Anyway, this is, these are the kids grown up. So when all of this happened, by the way, her kids were grown and she had grandkids. Well, because she was a grandmother, so clearly her kids were grown. So they were grown. There were 2 boys and the girl, and that's Dave and that's Lois, and these are the 2 boys and the girl. This is Braden. Braden did an interview and he said this. He said, she was a good lady, but has her demons. He was 30 years old when he gave this interview to Inside Edition. And he said that she literally snapped, he said. My whole family is in shock. Nobody ever expected anything like this. It has absolutely devastated her family. And so when she killed Dave, I mean, nobody did see it coming. So even if she had little quirky things or a little bit off, like that one guy said, nobody saw that coming, and they wouldn't, because you wouldn't think she would go that far. So he has to go with she snapped. He said, I'm still shocked. It's like, it's a bad movie. I feel like I'm going to wake up and it's going to be back to normal, but it isn't. All right. She had a history of stealing money and gambling, which I'll get into. And her son blames the gambling addiction for her downward spiral. And there's an addiction lady in one of these shows, and all she does is say that her gambling addiction was made her what she was. I disagree. So then she ended up, he said she blew $500,000 inheritance at casinos. And he says gambling is a terrible thing. Where it can suck people in and it destroys lives. That it does, but it doesn't usually end up in double homicide. So anyway, he said also when he saw her mannerisms on the cameras, he said her mannerisms were all different than normal. But everybody else says she was just as normal as ever, bubbly, lively, friendly. They didn't see any difference. So he is seeing things through, a little bit rose-colored glasses, if you can have them at that point. And then he saw her in a uniform, prison uniform. He says, I just felt really bad for my mom. I felt like she was alone and desperate. Well, she put herself there, And anyway, he says he hasn't been able to speak with his mother, but if he could he tell her he loves her? Well, then a year later, he overdosed. Yes, he did. He overdosed on drugs. And the other 2 kids say one, I don't think they have any contact with her. And one said they would never forgive her. And the other one supposedly can't deal with the death of the father. Now, I want to point out something here. When he talks about the sadness of the way his mother behaved, she says, I was a hands-on mother and a hands-on grandmother. For me to leave my family was terrifying for me, leaving my children and grandchildren. But I didn't have a problem killing my children's father and my grandchildren's grandfather. I didn't have a problem with that. I didn't have a problem with stealing all over the place instead of taking care of my family. Didn't have a problem with any of that. I didn't have a problem with going killing another woman and having my kids have to deal with that. But it was just awful for me that I ended up not being around my kids and grandkids. All right. And when she does this interview, it's just fascinating because the claims she makes in it are just amazing. Let's see. I want to point out the other claims she made here. Oh, where does it start? Oh, here she says this. It was years and years of abuse. Now, see, this is where she's claiming her husband abused her, and yet nobody really freaking knew about it, including her own kids. And years of giving. Now, here we have this all about me. I am the wonderful person. And he was a bad guy, but I'm a wonderful person. I did everything for everybody. Mm-hmm. And neglecting my own mental health. Yes. I don't know. I think the word psychotic break, I just snapped. Okay. I just snapped. And so she's using the snapping thing, because it's useful. But again, let's look at why did she do things? Because she got a massive amount of attention by doing things. Interesting enough, when she gets involved in the casino crap, she says this. It was the one thing that made me feel good. Nothing made you feel good? Helping all those people? Raising your kids, your grandkids? Nothing else made you feel good? You couldn't find something else in life that made you feel good? But gambling. They say, Lois, oh, you look so nice today. Yeah, because they're taking your freaking money. So when she said, when I went there, they treated me really well because they're taking your money. Of course, they're going to treat you well. They're going to suck up to you. You know, you're paying them to be nice, but that you don't care about that. You just care about the fact that when you do go there, you get this massive attention that you want and the thrill of that's what she did, the slots, and she did the expensive slots, by the way, not the cheap slots. So she was like blowing money right and left and occasionally winning, but just spending, just destroying the family with the loss of their money. And her husband wasn't too happy about that. And why would he be happy about that? You know, I mean, he had this, he worked hard. He had a worm farm. That's what he had there. He had a regular job, and then he started this worm farm, which was make wax worms for fishing, because he was a fisherman. And so he had this thing going, and he was making decent money, but she was spending pretty much everything. She was always an overspender anyway, buying stuff for herself, buying stuff for other people. So she was making her own choices. And that was even before she got into all the embezzlement stuff she got into. And some will claim it's totally about gambling that got her into embezzlement, and I don't think that's necessarily so. But she did end up embezzling a hell of a lot. Like here, for example, a couple of things here. Claimed she was totally under his control emotionally and financially. Friends say he asked her about stuff, how much, what she was buying and how much it cost. Well, yeah, she at that point, I think she was not doing the daycare anymore. So he was working hard, bringing the money home. And yeah, she comes rolling in the door with a whole pile of crap. Yeah, it's a normal thing in marriage where one person says to the other, hey, whoa, what are you spending all that money on? She spent $3,000 at Christmas one year, and she thought it was justified. Now, that he maybe didn't think it was justified. Maybe thought that was kind of ridiculously a lot. So she was spending a fortune. When her dad died, he left different amounts of money to each kid. And some of the kids, he left 25% and a house. I don't know how many houses they had. And she got 15%. And she was all pissed about that because she only got, 15, they got 25. Now, I don't know why he knocked her money down. Not sure why. Maybe he thought she didn't need it as much. Maybe he didn't like her. I don't know. But she also got a garage worth $200,000. So she got 15% of which was a pretty decent amount of money, hundreds of thousands. And then she got 200,000 on top of that. So she's whining. I mean, a lot of people don't get any inheritance at all because their parents just don't have any money when they die. And if you get anything, you should be thankful because your parents don't owe it to you. So she was very much greedy. She got this money and she spent it wildly. Dave got a nice boat, which he did. And I don't know if she gave that to him as a present to prove how, generous she was. They got also the Cadillac Escalade, lots of toys, but she spent a lot of it on gambling. And she claimed she wanted to get rid of the money because it was held over her head all of her life. She has more excuses than you know what to do. So she's basically saying that people kept going, I don't know what their thing about people holding that over her head, but she's going to give it. Her claim that she wanted to get rid of all the money because of that. Get out of here. Then she was taking care of her sister, because they all have mental problems. So her sister had severe mental problems. So she became her ward, and she was a power of attorney over her, and she had access to Kim's inheritance, which was over $300,000. She stole the funds, and she was eventually required to pay back over $100,000, which she didn't. Okay, she didn't get arrested, which she should have been, in my opinion, for fraud, embezzlement, but she didn't. So they investigated her and all that. And she said, well, I didn't really do those things. Anyway, but she couldn't pay it back. And then she did this interesting thing. Okay, so the next interesting thing she did was she attempted to commit suicide, supposedly. Take an overdose of pills. And she was medevaced. And then they put her in a mental hospital for a couple weeks. Now, this is what I find interesting. Her husband supposedly saved her life. And this is never too clear in either of the documentaries, but she claims he gave her CPR and saved her life. My question is she really wanted to do herself in? You don't do yourself in when somebody's going to find you. That's always a big trick. So, in other words, they had a lot of acreage around there. She could have gone off into the trees and done that. She could have driven away in the car and taken the pills in the car on the side of the road someplace in a small little, whatever, wherever nobody's going to find you in the next hour. Or you can make darn sure that he's not going to show up. He's just gone off to work and he's not coming home. And he's not going to be home because that's absolute. He's not going to be home for the whole day. Then you take him. But somehow he was there, and I don't have an explanation for that. So I wonder whether she accidentally took more than she planned to, and this was not a cry for help, but a cry for attention. In other words, I'm in trouble because of all the gambling stuff. Now the state is after me for the money, and then you're pissed at me. So I'm going to do this, and then everybody will feel sorry for me, and then I can get away with what I'm doing. That's what I think she did. But yeah. But he saved her life, and later, supposedly, where's the comment? This is funny. There were two things that he said, which I found. Also, want to find out what I did with those comments, because I thought they were interesting, and I'm not quite sure where the comments came from. So, where is it? Where did it go? Hold on. Oh, these are comments that supposedly exist, and I can't exactly be sure of where they came from. One is, one of the biggest mistakes of my life was going to the house that day. That's when he had lunch in town with a coworker and asked to be dropped off at home instead of the worm farm. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, maybe she really did. Maybe she really did. I take back what I just said. Maybe she really did try to kill herself. Maybe she just figured she'd screwed up so badly that she was embarrassed or whatever. Okay. This was, he had lunch in town with a coworker and asked to be dropped off at home instead of the worm farm so he could use the bathroom. He found Lois unconscious from a pill overdose. He called 911. She was airlifted to the hospital. And he said, one of the biggest mistakes of my life is going to the house that day. So I take back everything I just. So I mean, because that is usually true. It's if you expect somebody to be there and to save you, then you do that. So apparently she did not. He did come home. I did not read that particular comment that way before. So she did try to knock herself off. Again, does this mean that she is not a possible psychopath, or is that she was at this point so embarrassed and couldn't pay the money back and just didn't want to deal with things? Don't know. But he did say he made a mistake. Now, why would he say? Now, mind you, he couldn't, after she killed him, he couldn't say this after she killed him. That was one of the biggest mistakes of my life. He can't say that, right? But he also said this: if I ever go missing, you come looking for Lois. So these two comments tell me that he was suspicious that she had it in for him. At a certain point after the attempt to take her own life, he was afraid of her in some way. He was like, so this wasn't a snapped thing then, because he's already saying, if I disappear, it's her, and I shouldn't have saved her life. Whew, that's a hell of a thing to say about your wife. You shouldn't have saved her. So something was seriously wrong in that, after that point in time, that he was that afraid of her. So should have gotten out of there. She was obsessed with revenge. That could well be. Why didn't he leave her? We ask this all the time about people, why they don't do what they should do. I suppose sometimes you question whether you're exaggerating. A lot of people do. If anything happens to me, it's her, but I'm probably exaggerating. I probably shouldn't have saved her because she's probably going to do me in, but I'm probably exaggerating. That's the way people tend to think. They don't think that anybody would actually go to those lengths. It's just not quite there, So, but apparently she did, and he should have listened to himself. He should have. And that's probably true. Men also don't expect a woman to kill them. They're less likely to believe that, I think, than women because of the power difference. To see the man stronger than the woman. A woman, especially the woman that's been beaten over and over again, she can more likely expect to be killed. He didn't ever. There's no proof that either one of them ever touched each other physically. So, it would have been I think it would have been a cry for his attention, but I mean, if you're dead, you can't get his attention anymore. So I'm not sure. So I think that maybe she did get overwhelmed at that point in time, and decide I can't. I just everything is falling apart because I'm in trouble now. I'm in serious trouble now, and I don't know how to get out of it. So she tried to kill herself. Well, then next time when she wanted to get out of it, I guess she found another way. She goes, I'm not doing that again. Why didn't she do that again? Why did she shoot her husband instead? Okay, so now I want to get to the actual crimes and how they went down. Okay. And whether we see snapping, whether we see an intentional homicide. She did get nailed for murder 1 on him, by the way. Not on her, but on him. And so what actually happened the day it happened? Now, her story, and her stories are always really sketchy, let me tell you. Her story was that they had, hold on a second. I just want to see what I have for my backgrounds here for a second. Now, here we go. Now, let's use this one. All right, so here they are, happy. And here's the worm farm. And so let's go to happy. They were supposedly happy, but she claims on this day, well, obviously they weren't happy. After she tried to take her life, he was obviously he knew something. She was deranged in some way. But they went off to some relative thing about 2 hours away. And when they got there, she claims that he made her leave after 15 minutes and pissed her off. And then they argued all the way back. That's her claim. Now, mind you, always realize that when people say things after somebody is dead, they don't get to tell their side of the story. She could be making everything up. We have no idea. So we can't believe her just because she says it. So anyway, they get home and the arguing supposedly continues. Then this is the claim. They're in the house and she claims this. Now, this is the gun he was shot with. By the way, that's the gun. That was the gun also used in the other killing too, which links the two of them together ballistically. But here's what she says. According to Lois, Dave took a loaded .22 pistol out of the drawer and said, why don't you kill yourself and do it right this time? Now, considering he was concerned about her state of mind that she might do him in, do you think it makes any sense that this guy's going to give his wife the gun that's loaded and say, do yourself in? Is he that much of a moron that he would do this? Well, the police don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think that, again, comes from her because he's dead and can't tell the truth, tell you what the truth is. So her claim is that she snapped when her beloved husband had the gall to hand her a loaded gun and mock her first failed suicide attempt because I saved you then, but go ahead and do it right this time. Well, of course, she actually did it right the other time, supposedly, if he saved her, right? If she really took that much to kill herself. Now, I don't actually know the details of how much she actually took. So who knows? Maybe she was really to that level, but she says he gave her CPR. Don't know if it's true. She was medevaced. But anyway, now you got your husband mocking you and handing you a gun saying, do it right this time. And I'm not going to save you, clearly. So that's what her claim is. So because he handed that to her and told her to kill herself, she snapped and shot him. How many of you think that her story holds any water? Kate Breton says there's no way he produced a loaded gun. That seems a little bit strange. Yes. Wait a minute. No, she's a big liar, and he was shot in front, and that says it all. Well, the claim she has, she shot him in front because he handed it to her, and she was therefore looking him straight in the face. But he did do this and try to block, put up his arm and got shot through the arm. So he was definitely facing her. So yeah, considering the fact that she then went and shot somebody else in exactly the same way, that's an MO. And the other woman, she never claimed did piss her off. The other woman, she just blacked out. She didn't know even how it happened, you see. But for him, he did upset her, and then that's why she snapped. And then everything after that was she was in some kind of psychotic state, although she clearly was making pretty good choices as far as what she was going to do about this situation to some extent. In other words, she knew since she'd shot him, she was going to have a short time of evading authority. She knew that. But she was going to try for a while and come up with a plan and all that kind of stuff. So what she did was he ends up in the bathroom with a blanket over him. And and we're going to look at these two crimes in that way as to what was so similar about this MO here. So what we have here is, this is his bathroom. That's a blanket over him. The woman who she shot later, and I'll get to that whole crime in a bit, but she was in the bathroom with also a blanket over her, something over her. And then in the doorway, the door was shut, and then a towel was put underneath the door to prevent, obviously, the smells from coming out. Now, some would think that was to delay the discovery of the body. In this case, she also opened the window to the bathroom, which is interesting. And if nobody else is coming in the house, that's really not going to delay it that much. Here, the woman it was a timeshare. She was just there for a day, and she stayed a couple days, and then Lois called up using her name and extended it for 2 more days. Now, you could think that she put the towel there then because she didn't want anybody else to come in and smell things. But quite frankly, that's not true, because she stayed here. I forgot how many days it was after she let me see if I can find that. She stayed in the house for like over a week. I'll find the exact amount of time she stayed there. Let me see. He was found dead on 23rd of March. Doesn't say when he was found. That's when he was found dead. I can't remember how many days. It was like a long time, like 10 days. The real reason she put that underneath the door was so she could stay in the house and not smell him. And the reason it was under the door here was for the same reason. She stayed on in that location for a little longer, a couple of days. So she was actually keeping it from bothering her. That's why she opened the window to the bathroom, just so the smell would go out and wouldn't bother her. So she wasn't so much concerned about the bodies being discovered as she was about being able to stay at both locations and do stuff for a while. in this particular instance, she was telling the worm farm people that he was sick, and he was unable to come to work. And so days went by, and then finally she told them that he was going to go to this fishing thing that he went to every year. And they're like, oh, thank God, I guess he's okay, right? But when the fishing thing came up, they said that it was interesting that they're watching on TV. This is his partner. The two of them are supposed to be together. And when the guy in yellow, called their names, only the partner showed up. And they're like, where the hell did Dave go? Well, because Dave was dead. And also, he would have taken the Escalade. That would have been what he would have taken to the fishing thing. And she's the one that drove off with it. So she drove off with the Escalade. At that point, they knew something was really off. So then they contacted the police. The police came and found his body in the bathroom. So she stayed with us in the house for many days with the body. And she was cashing checks on his account. She was embezzling money. She was getting all the stuff together. And then she took off. And she stayed in her apartment. I don't know if it was a couple days. Let me see what it says here. On April 5th, she murdered her. Don't see where there's not a detail there. Oh, it was 14 days until 11th was the last day he was seen alive. So let's see when they found his body. 11th was, he was found dead on the 23rd. So 12 days she stayed here. Or 11 days, whatever, 11 days. And with the other woman, I think it was a couple days, because that's why she extended it. She was trying to stay there a little longer and then disappear. And then they finally went. And then she, of course, did want an extra little bit of time, so they would think the other woman was staying there, wouldn't be suspicious of anything. Until they went, and the woman, the head of the place went, and they had a water problem, and they went to check on that, her condo that she had rented, and she didn't answer the door, so they let themselves in, and that's when they smelled horrible in there. So they're like, oh my God. So that's when they found her body. So she kills off her husband, and she takes off, and she goes south, and she goes down to Florida, and this is where the next homicide occurs. But keep in mind, both homicides in the bathroom. Okay, why are they in the bathroom? First of all, it's a nice way this was a bit of a problem for her. This was a bit of a problem because when she had the woman in the bathroom, I guess, I don't know how she goes to the bathroom. I think that's why she left the complex a few times, because she had to go someplace to go to the bathroom. And I go to the restaurant and get her breakfast and go to the bathroom. Over here, I'm assuming they probably had two bathrooms. Most people do. So maybe she just used the other bathroom. But a bathroom is a good place to close somebody in and then have the rest of the house and the rest of the area available to you. But they were both shot either in the bathroom or at the bathroom door. And I do not believe, since they were both shot face on, neither one of them were doing their business or taking a shower. It's not like Psycho, where the woman was in there taking a shower and she goes in, it wasn't like that. She was, as far as I know, he was dressed, and as far as I know, she was dressed. There's a lot of missing information, but I believe they were both dressed. So they weren't on the toilet or anything. So they were facing her. It is my belief she made them go into the bathroom, directing them. I will shoot you, go into the bathroom. And maybe she had some story like, I'm going to run away. I'm going to, get in the bathroom. I'm going to close the door and run away. Maybe that's what she was saying. I want some information from her. I want you to do whatever. And then when they got in the bathroom or facing her, she shot both of them. I think she got them to go into the bathroom, which is very premeditated in both crimes. And I'm going to explain why, especially in this crime, I think she had a very good reason for what she did, though, and the way she did it. So let's get to this crime, because this is really the one that points out that you can get a lot of people did say, well, you might understand why she killed her husband, but why she killed this other woman, that's problematic. She just met this woman. This guy, maybe she could have, she could have hatred for, be angry and all that kind of crap, frustration, and lost it, supposedly. At least there's some sense in that. But you meet a woman and you kill her the same day. That's pretty premeditated. So let's get to what happened to the next one, Pamela Hutchinson. And it's just super sad because just let me check the comments before I go on to that. Lynn says, seemed to be able to logically think through the cover-up, clearly didn't snap in the sense of a psychotic break. Yes, in my opinion, there's no evidence of a psychotic break at all. Okay, she requested one more night. Yeah, I blanked on how much time. One more night. Okay. So she, well, no, I thought she got 2 more nights. I'm confused because I know Pamela asked for an extra night. Pamela was going to be there one night. She asked for an extra night. And then I think that, let me see if it says anything here about that. Yeah, well, Wikipedia is crap for that. I can't remember what she said, but I know Pamela asked for an extra night because she wasn't planning to stay more than one. She asked for 2, and then I do know Lois called up pretending she was Pamela and asked to extend the stay. I thought that was for 2 nights, but I could be wrong. She hadn't thought it through 100%. She had thought this through 100%. Well, yes and no. Yes, in premeditation, yes, she thought certain things through. But as often happens when people commit crimes, is they're not really good at it. So the other bit of that 100% is kind of like screwed up. So then they have to do what they try to figure stuff out. And a lot of times they don't figure it out terribly well. A lot of worm comments here from the worm farm. Some people say, why didn't they put his body at the worm farm? Let them take care of him. But, oh, she was. It's just so freaking sad, the thing about Pamela. So let's go to Pamela because I feel so bad for her and for her friends and family. And it's just really, that really sucked. I mean, that really does. And it goes to show you never can know when something weird like that could just happen, like freaking out of the blue. So, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, okay. So here she is, Pamela. Pamela was, let's see, just so I can tell you who she was. She was 59-year-old native of North Carolina. And she had visited the area in Fort Myers Beach, Florida. And she had to help a friend scatter her late husband's ashes. And on vacation, she encountered Riess. And so she goes to this, she's having a drink at the bar and she pops in and you can see them going, like having a great time. And they had a lot in common because she said she was a widow. She said she was divorced, which is really sad because she said she was divorced. She had a kind of rough divorce and she finally got divorced and she felt very free and happy. And now she was, enjoying life and making friends. She was super friendly like her. Only the difference between her and her is she was a truly loving and caring person. She was a fake loving and caring person. That's the difference between the two. But I want to point out how you get to, unfortunately, sometimes get targeted by somebody like this. She was essentially doing love bombing, like we talk about love bombing in other ways, like men love bombing women. Oh, you're so beautiful, and you're just the perfect person. You're my soulmate, blah blah blah. And then the woman's like, oh my God, I finally found the perfect guy. I've been waiting all these years, and then he, takes advantage of her, uses her, abuses her, whatever. Sometimes kills her. She was essentially doing a form of love bombing, which I find is where. This is what they do, is they find everything you have in common and they match it. Because everybody likes to be understood and they like to have a friend who is like them. I mean, it's pretty cool. Like I like lizards, right? So if you want to get on my good side, you go, oh my God, you love iguanas? Oh, I just think they're the cutest lizard ever. And I'm like, oh, that's so neat. You love lizards too, because that's hard for me to find. Lizards are not most people's top choice as a pet. They want to talk about their dog. And I'm like, I want to talk about lizards. So consequently, if somebody finds out that I like lizards, that's something to talk about, right? And whatever else they can talk to me about and make me feel like I'm appreciated and I'm understood. And oh my God, you could be my like soulmate friend, I'm like a bestie, it's just, this will be so cool. Even if it's just for the day of a couple of days, or I'm moving to this area, whatever. My God, I found somebody. And we all know sometimes it's very hard to find friends, depending on your personality and depending on whether you're matching the culture well. Some people find friends very easily and other people have more difficulties, but regardless, she was using the method of, I'm so friendly and happy and nice and hey, and I think one of the women, I think it's the second woman, she bought dinner for. She had money, so you're not suspecting her of like mooching off of you or anything, because she had cash with her. Supposedly, they even said that before she left town, she went back to the same casino and won like $25,000. So a lot of people think she was just, well, why was she then targeting her? Was it for money? Well, she did use her money, by the way. But their claim is that because they looked alike, her intent was to steal her identity. And now a lot of people will jump in here and say, well, they don't really look alike. Come on now. I hate to tell you this, but when you're and you hit late 50s, 60s, women start looking more alike than ever because of the aging of our faces and the shape of our heads. And I honestly I have trouble sometimes telling certain older people apart, and what happens is a lot of younger people are running stuff. So if you come in and you've got your hair back and you have a hat on or whatever, they're not going to necessarily look at your face and see you as different from another quote old lady. Sad to say, that's true. So did they look identical? No. But could she just, put on some sunglasses and a cap and say it? She probably, and that actually did work. I'll show you in a bit. So she did want to steal her identity and her vehicle because she's driving a vehicle the police are looking for. She needs to dump her vehicle. Actually, matter of fact, a lot of killers who are spree killers, and that is what I will classify her as, in case you're wondering. Not a serial killer. A serial killer kills for the thrill of the kill. A spree killer usually kills because they need something from the next person. Well, from her husband, she needed his money. And that was the first thing, and to stop him from annoying her. And the second woman, she needed her car. And a lot of times you're on a run. That's the problem. You got a vehicle the police are not looking for. If you can dump the vehicle and get another vehicle, sometimes you can just buy one and keep going. But a lot of times people will steal somebody's vehicle or they'll kill them for the vehicle. Because then they get more time ahead of them because now the police are looking for the wrong vehicle until they find the body of her and realize her car is gone. Then they go, oh, she must be in her vehicle. And then she also wanted to steal her identity. So that is what she did. So she hooks up with her. Very quickly, they become friends. And drinking, having a good time. And she's just people said she wasn't gullible. But again, do you really expect a woman who has money, who is down there having a good time, you really think she's going to kill you? That is not what you think. She was driving an Escalade. So she's driving a fancy car. She's got a lot of money. She can pay for stuff. So so I guess she was saying, I'm going to look for some place to stay tonight, or I forgot what it was. And then she's like, hey, you can stay at my place for the night. I've got this extra bedroom. And she's like, oh my God, thank you. So she goes there, and you will see that this is the last time you'll see her. Now, oddly, they have her blurred out too. Like, we don't know. It's her, I don't know. So some of the blurring stuff is stupid. But anyway, this is clearly the killer, and this is the victim. So we're going to blur her out. So anyway, they're walking into the condo, and she's pulling her, luggage with her, and her car is parked outside. So the car is there, and both their cars are in the lot. So she thinks, she's just helping this nice lady. She's going to stay the night, and they're going to have fun. They can spend some more time talking, having a good time. So that's what she did. So she befriends her. They go over there, and the question is when she was killed, and this becomes an issue of the timing thing to me is fascinating. So let's see if I figured out where I put the timing thing. Hold on, let me look for it. Unless I forgot to put it here someplace, which I might have. I had a picture with the actual time on. Where is it? No, I've done it twice here. For God's sakes. I tell you, it's going to be one of these days. Hold on a second. Let me go look for it. Wait, I gotta find it. Oh, wait, maybe it's over here. Oh, come on. Seriously. Take another drink, guys. I mean, I got people drunk. They say, "Well, we take a drink every time Pat can't find her pictures," and so it's a dangerous thing. And of course, I can't find it. I thought I had the number. Oh, that's not what I wanted. That's not what the picture I wanted either. So anyway, there's a picture of her, and she is outside at that balcony again. And what it shows is that they go in, and they're in the elevator and that. And then very soon after that, and I don't know why it's not listed here. And let me go to my court document. Maybe it's here. All right. Let's see. Okay, there. I found this from the court. This is from a court document from Florida. Okay, so April 4th, 2018, at 8:13 p.m. Okay, actually, it wasn't the first day. Pamela was observed walking toward her room with an unknown blonde female. The female was identified as Lois Riess. All right. On April 4th, 2018, at 8:48 p.m., they were observed walking toward the elevator together, talking. So that's the same. It's like April 4th. So we're talking like 30 minutes later, they're like in the elevator, chat. Okay. April 5th, at 12:47 a.m., they're observed walking toward the room. Okay. And then on April, okay, that would be 12:47. Okay, so April 5th, they're together. 12:47, they're walking together toward the room. 3:50 time, at 3:59, Pamela's walking to the elevator alone, and then she walks back to the room. April 5th, 5:15 to 7:37. Okay, here we go. Pamela and Lois were observed on video surveillance eating and drinking together at the smoke. Probably it's maybe that picture at the Smoking Oyster Brewery, and then after that, a receipt documented Pamela paid for a meal and drinks with a credit card. Lois paid for her meal and drinks using cash. Then April 5th, 2018. So they were together since April 4th. So she didn't kill her on the first night. She actually stayed over and they chit-chatted, right? And then on April 5th, they went and had their food at 3:15 to 7:37. Okay, so they're eating. They spent a long time at the bar, like 3 hours. At 7:46 p.m., Pamela and Lois were observed walking back to the room together. This was the last sighting of Pamela alive. At 8:34, Lois was observed walking toward the elevator alone. Lois stands at the 4th floor elevator landing. That would be the picture I just showed you. Until 8:47, then walked back toward the room. During this time, she appears distraught, upset, and possibly crying. I didn't see the crying thing. I just saw her going, just thinking, like trying to figure out what she's going to do now. Okay, and then she goes to get something else, and she goes back to the room. Anyway, so She was murdered. Now, this is important as far as the bathroom thing goes. She was murdered between 7:46 p.m. and 8:34 p.m. There's a 5-minute time frame. They go to the bar, they have a nice time, they come back, and within 45 minutes, she's dead. So she wasn't shot in the middle of the night. Uh, she wasn't taking a shower. She wasn't apparently even going to the bathroom. So how did she end up in the bathroom in that 45-minute thing? Why did she end up there? And I think it comes down to she was herded there because that's where she wanted her body to end up. She was shot through a pillow. So Lois even used a pillow and shot through it to deafen the sound. That she was smart about. And then she put the blanket over her and closed the door and put the towel down. And then what did she do? So now we see how similar the two crimes were as far as how she killed her husband and what she did afterwards. And the same thing is true for Lois in this bathroom. Now, what did she do after that? And this is where I think some of the information comes in as to what she was trying to accomplish. Now, let's see. Oh, just before I get into that, let me just show you some more things she said about that. She says it's truly a puzzle. She doesn't know why she did this. I know I had asked her to help me with a suicide attempt. Get out of here. And we stayed up way into the night. Yeah, okay. So that would be the first night, talking about my life and her life. And she understood. And then the woman doing the interview goes, I mean, you killed her. She goes, oh, yeah, it's mental illness. Mine's a crazy thing. She was even recently divorced, and she was a very nice lady. And she talked about her life and my life. And but I had never anticipated hurting that woman. But you did bring a gun, says Erin, the interviewer, to the hotel. And the gun was one of those things I brought with me when I packed. I packed the most unusual things. Oh, so it was an accidental packing of the gun. She helped me unload all my luggage, and it was in my luggage. Okay. And she says, what? So I don't know what she's trying to say here. So supposedly the whole first night, this woman just does nothing but nice to her and helps her with the depression and all the stuff she's dealing with. And she's just the greatest person. And she understands her because was in an abusive marriage, blah, blah, blah. But I killed her anyway. And then when she mentions the gun, I was unpacking my luggage, and then she saw the gun, so you had to kill her. But she doesn't really say that. She doesn't say that's why she killed her. And of course, she would have. The murder didn't happen the first night. The murder happened the day after, in that 45 minutes worth of time, returning from the place she was eating to when she killed her. So, what did she get from there? And this is where I think she was herded into the bathroom. Because there was a couple things that were interesting that she took. Now, she took, let's see, whatever. She took the car. Yes, she's now taking away her car. She went and hid the other car elsewhere. And then she walked back and took Pamela's car. And then she took, what else did she take? Where is a picture of what other stuff she took? Here we go. Here. She took a bunch. So she took a bunch of stuff with her, and like she even took her sunglasses and wore them, and she took her hat too, which you can see in some pictures. She's like here, she's wearing her hat and checking into a hotel where she had a great expensive hotel. She spent money. She got room service. She rented a movie for $22. I don't know what the movie was, but she also rifled through a purse. And so they knew that she rifled through her purse to get her IDs, to get her ATM card, and stuff to use to go. She went to the bank. This is where she goes to the bank, and she gets money out of the bank, like $5,000 or something. It's crazy. They just handed it to her without, they fell for her. That's her. Here she is at the bank with all the money. But here is what I found fascinating. What do you notice about that? Tell me, please. Your suitcase, and oops, there's your gun. Yeah, right. I hate that when you open it and yeah, there's the gun. And she did have two guns with her. That is also correct. Oh, Lois sounds like a cruel predator. She does indeed. Um, oh, you're going, yep, the psychopath word. I didn't say it. Did I say it first? I'll let you say it first. What about that picture? What do you notice about this picture? What is important about it? So creepy and thought out. Okay. Was a hat supposed to conceal her identity? I think probably. She thought, yeah, maybe. Thank you, Texas Redhead. How did she know the pin at the ATM? Yes, indeed. That is interesting to me, too. How did she know the pin? So, yeah, she is entering a code. She is entering the pin number. You can't get through without a pin number. How did she get the pin? Now, in theory, could Pamela have been a silly person who wrote the pin number down on, I don't know, another, did she have a card in her wallet that said pin number for ATM card? Maybe. It's unlikely. Most of us don't have our pin numbers written down with our stuff. At least I don't. I'm not saying it can't happen. So yeah, it's possible, but I don't think so. Another interesting thing, which I don't quite understand, because again, when you get these things in a documentary, what does it mean? This, they said here in the documentary, Lois stole a bunch of money. Now, this is the safe at the condo that Pamela was renting, and it is open. Now, I don't know why it's open. Could this be a picture taken after the management went in there? Did the management open it? That's a question. Or did Lois open it? Because I don't know about you. I'll tell you my secret. I use my PIN number is the same number I use for those boxes when I'm traveling, because I just don't want to have that many numbers in my head. So I use both of them are the same. So if I know the PIN number for the ATM card, I also know possibly what the safe number would be. Now, that doesn't mean everybody uses that. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4. It could be your birthday. What could be anything. Also don't know what was in the safe. So I don't know. When Pamela was traveling, I don't know that she was traveling with much cash. Okay. Most people don't travel with that much cash unless they're trying to be impressive. I mean, she was traveling with cash because she was, she was embezzling it and writing bad checks and was taking the cash. And she also went to the casino. So she was using cash. But most people, when they go to restaurant stuff, don't use cash, although some people particularly like to do so. However, Pamela did use a credit card when she went and bought her food. So I don't know whether she had any big stash of cash in that in the safe there, or anything else of great worth in there. And I know when I use those safes for particular reasons. If I'm taking my iPad with me, my iPad goes in there. My headphones go in there because they're costly, and put them in there. If I have a passport with me, I put the passport in there. If I have any kind of jewelry, for some reason I have expensive jewelry, which is only if I go to an Indian thing and have gold jewelry, that would go in there. Anything that I basically don't want to leave there that might disappear, somebody else was cleaning the room, and I don't like to accuse people of taking things. So I prefer to put anything of value in the safe. And so I want to make sure every place I travel has a safe, and I use that all the time. But a lot of people, they don't use the safes at all because they've got no reason to. They got nothing with them that they're worried about. They might have their purse with them, but the purse is going with them wherever they're going. Maybe if they go to the beach, they might put maybe they put their wallet and stuff in there if they were going to the beach and walking down to the beach. They might use it for that. I have no idea if anything was in that safe. I don't know if she opened it or the staff opened it. I just don't know. But this does interest me because she's using an ATM machine, and that does require a code. So how did she get the code if Pamela didn't nicely write down her code and put it in her wallet? And that would mean to me that before Pamela died, that was what she made sure she gave her. Tell me the code. Now, could Pamela have lied? Sure. But who knows what the whole, people when they're being under threat will often just tell the truth because they don't know another way to do it. Or maybe they're afraid if they say the wrong thing, the person will come back and get them. They're hoping that, okay, just give me that code. That's all I need. I'm just getting out of town. And I will never see you again. But if I go down to that bank and that code isn't good, I'm coming back for you. I mean, a person's, they see a gun pointed at them, they don't know what that crazy person on the other end of that gun is going to shoot them, not shoot them. They don't know what's going on. They'll probably give you whatever you want. And I think she herded her into the bathroom. She got her ATM thing, herded her into the bathroom and killed her. And then she had what she wanted. And she went ahead and she used the ATM card. She went to the bank and got out cash. And she was having a very fine time. And then she went on to Texas after that because she took her car, which is the most important thing, is she takes the woman's car so that she can get on the road. Now they did track the car and everything, and there's all the cameras. So that it's hard these days because of cameras to escape a detection. Now it doesn't mean you can't commit the crime prior to being detected, but at least there's a way to put those people away and maybe stop them from what I consider a spree. I think would she go on to kill somebody else? It's very possible. This is interesting. That's a good point, Lady Jane. Could have watched over Pamela's shoulder if she took out money previously when they were together. That is possible. That is possible. That's a good thought. It's a good thought. It was 14 days, I believe, something like that. It was a long time. Oh, that's it. That's brilliant. I like that, Lynn. Oh, that's very smart. I like it. I see. That's why I like more heads than one. Maybe Lois asked Pamela if she could keep some of her property in the safe to get the pin. I like that one a lot. Yeah, I do. I like that one. That's possible too. So you can see sometimes in these crimes, I came up with one possibility. You guys just came up with two more. That's amazing. That's really cool. Good thinking. And we won't know. I still think she herded her into the bathroom because I think she wanted her to end up in the bathroom. And she had 45 minutes. So at that point, when she came back from that place, she had her intent. She was ready to move. She had to get out of there. And so she pulled the gun out, and that was that. So yes, she might have had stuff in the safe herself because she was carrying a lot of crap. She was carrying a lot of cash around now, wasn't she? So I think I didn't even think about that. That's really good because she had the cash from the casino, and she may have even shown, I can't remember if she did show Pamela that, she could see she had a lot of money and think, I'm planning to move here and brought this with me. Can I put it in your safe? And then you think that she would be worried about Pamela more than Pamela should be worried about her, right? So all kinds of possibilities there. But within 45 minutes, she killed her. And so that was premeditated, in my opinion, just like it was with her husband. And premeditation, by the way, doesn't have to be a week. It can be 10 minutes. It can be an hour. It can be a short period of time. She might have originally thought, oh, I'll hook up with this lady. I'll have a place to stay. And we'll see if I need. I personally think she picked her absolutely for her identification in her vehicle. I think she was totally targeted. When she was going to kill her would be another matter. Why she didn't do it the first night, or just right away when they got back, I don't know. Hard to say. But she went on to the next person. When she went down to Texas, and she was sitting out with a new car. Interesting enough, when she got down to Texas with her car, she stayed at a Motel 6, and she hid the car at the motel and walked every place, claiming that she didn't have a car with her. That was kind of smart, wasn't it? So anybody she meet wouldn't see her with the car that she had just stolen from the dead woman, right? So she meets this woman, and this woman likes her too. And they went and spent some time in a hot tub together, and they were very friendly. And she brought her over to her place, and And so what was happening here was that Pamela was saying that, Lois was saying, oh, I'm thinking about moving down here. And she goes, I don't really like, where did she end up? I'm sorry. Let me see where she drove to. After she killed uh, Pamela, then she went to, where did she go? South Padre Island in Texas, South Padre Island. It's 27 miles from the Mexican border. They thought she might be going there, but who knows? She was down there having it's a tourist town. She was, again, smiley, happy, laughy, having a good time. She was going to the beach. She was eating lots of food. She was drinking. She's having a great time. She was hooking up with this guy. She was kind of like flirting with this guy, and everything was cool. And she met her. And this poor woman, after Lois said, oh, I'm not so sure I want to live in San Padre Island, she goes, well, I've got a place, maybe you'd like that area to move to. So she took her to her house, or a condo, house, whatever. But while she was there, this is the camera that got Lois basically caught, because this was the one outside of the condo in Florida, so that they saw her coming and going and coming and going, and then Pamela not going, right? And so now she's at her house, and she's showing her how many cameras she has around her house, and that's just this is just 7 of the views. There's actually more views, so she's got cameras everywhere, because they had a problem with crime, so she put all these cameras up. And she wonders to this day, she really creeped her out when she realized that she could have been the next target, that maybe the cameras saved her, because Lois saw all the cameras and thought, okay, I'm not going to take that chance. Or maybe Lois wouldn't have cared, because what she would want to do is change up those vehicles again. So I don't know that Lois wouldn't have killed her. Or she could have decided to move on to somebody else. It's hard to say. But this woman was like, that is the creepiest thing ever. And she's just thanking her lucky stars she wasn't the next one. Because as I say, that's the way spree killers work. Oh, look, I have a lot of hair now. So she'll look with hair. Anyway, I always love when I put myself in front of somebody and their whole hair thing goes around me. So let me get that off. It's going to start bugging me now. Let me go back to this picture. Okay. So I believe she's a spree killer, because she killed the husband and he got in her way. Psychopaths, you're either useful or you're in the way. I think he was useful for many years. The kids were useful for many years. And then they became not so useful. And she didn't care about them as much anymore, as much as she claims she cares about her kids. I don't buy it for a minute. I just don't. I think that she's full of it. She's like all about her son, Braden, killing himself. Dying of an overdose. I'm not sure whether they did it on purpose or not. She was like, oh, he was depressed. He had emotional problems. I wish he had gotten help. Well, maybe if he was that messed up, maybe he shouldn't kill his dad. You know what I mean? Maybe it pushed him over the edge, don't you think? But no, she doesn't really care, much as she says she does. She cared about what they did for her, but maybe they weren't doing enough for her anymore. Maybe she wasn't getting the accolades and all the things she wanted anymore. And that's why she was doing the casino, because she got more there. She was done with the family life, done with the husband. And then she had been caught for all the embezzling from her sister's account. So she was in trouble all the way around. So he became in the way. He was no longer useful. He was in the way, and he was more useful dead, because she could then write all the checks and embezzle all the money and take off with the Escalade. So he was more useful dead than alive. Then we get to poor Pamela. She's a nice, cool lady. She's fun and sweet, but she's more useful dead than alive. So she got dead, So now she's moving on. She's got those 2 people out of the way, and they don't matter to her. And that is why I call her a psychopath, and have no problem with, I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist. I cannot give the routine we all go through. So it's just an opinion that she behaves like a psychopath. She has traits of a psychopath. So I can't really say she is a psychopath, but she just appears to be one. But these people didn't matter enough to her human beings don't matter enough to her. So she got rid of them when they served her more purpose dead than alive. Would she have gone on and done that to somebody else? Sure, why not? She's already killed 2 people. It's not like it's going to add to her sentence, you know what I mean? And if she doesn't care about people, yeah, another person that she's just going to make target and say, hey, that person give me whatever I need to go forward and whatever. So thank God they figured out about her. There was a guy in a bar and he recognized her down in Texas. This guy, they had their faces were everywhere, all over the news. And he said, I can't remember names, but I'm good with faces. Unlike me, who can't tell people apart and don't know their names either. But here they come to get her, which is one of the most. She's sitting there chatting up a guy in the bar. She's having a great old time, and here come the cops. Such a satisfying moment, let me tell you. And then they take her off. There she goes, and there she is, getting her picture taken. So now she's famous. So maybe she did get the fame after all, you know. She did. And she ended up getting extradited back to Minnesota. And she said, and it's kind of annoying because she didn't get the death penalty. And she's down in Minnesota. And she said she wanted to be near her family. Really? Because, yeah. And a lot of times, killers do want to be near their families because if they can get their families to fall for any of their bullcrap, their families will send them money, come to visit, you know, whatever. I'd really like to know how she's doing it in prison because she is a friendly person, right? And she's manipulative, and she might be, you know, not suffering as much as people would like her to suffer because she got to have different, you know, we all have different portions of our lives. We have, you know, we're growing up, and then we have our, you know, maybe marriage and kids, and then they grow up, and then we have this next part of our lives as we're getting older, you know, over 50, over 60, over 70, we have that part. And that's a whole nother thing. Is it grandparenthood? Is it travel? Is it retirement? Is it whatever people get into? Pamela was enjoying that part of her life because she had been in a marriage. She started out well, didn't end up well, and she didn't have any kids, but she was well loved by everybody. And she just wanted to move to Florida. It was nice and warm and happy. And she was like that. She was having a kind of a teenagehood again, as a lot of times people this age do, and they're having fun with other people close to their age, and yeah, good time. So she got to have that, but only for like a very short period of time. She got that freedom. She got to play, still go to casinos, go to bars, make friends, kill friends. You know, she was having a great time. And now that she's been caught, which she knew she would, because I don't think she would have really been able to whip into Mexico all that well, and survived. Now she is living in prison. And some people who are psychopaths do very well in prison because they start their new game there. And she's already gotten a chance to be on a documentary, and who knows? I'd love to know what her daily life is like there, because who knows? She might not be all that sad. I'll go to some of your comments. Yeah, most of them are 4 digits. The safes are 4 digits. Yes, that's why I use the ATM number the same as the safe. So if you're traveling with me, do not look over my shoulder. Don't. Yeah, that lady was very lucky she wasn't number 3. That's true. Yeah, she was very lucky. She should be. It's interesting to hold on. Oh, things are stuck here. Kate Breton says she has a twisted entitlement complex and she is a psychopath. That's a good point. I'm glad you made that point about the entitlement complex. Yes, she felt entitled. And I'm entitled to have everything I want. I'm also entitled to be appreciated and have people be amazed and think I'm wonderful. I'm entitled to all of that. And on top of that, by the way, I completely forgot to mention this. She blames everybody else for the most part. She blames them for how she ended up. She blames her family life and the mental conditions, mental issues of her family. She blames her husband for being abusive. She'll blame. She's one of those who could, she didn't do anything wrong because she's a nice person. The only thing that went wrong was she had this psychotic moment, that that she can't remember. She blacked out. She doesn't remember doing these things. She didn't want to do these things. And she feels bad about them. She even says she feels shame and remorse. I'm sure that she practiced that. Shame and remorse. Shame and remorse. Shame and remorse. Yes, I feel shame and remorse. She might say Jodi Arias. Interesting. Yeah. That's true. She sees people as assets or liabilities. Correct. Not human beings, because empathy eludes her. Absolutely. And this, and people get confused over the marriage part. The same reason serial killers can be married, and people are like, or people who are family annihilators. They're like, well, they were fine. The guy was, the husband was, let's say he was, he was with the baseball coach. He was seen with his kids having fun. He seemed to love his kids, and then one day he wakes up and kills all his kids and his wife and runs off with a stripper. How is this possible? Because he never actually loved his kids. People can like and love things, and the things do not have feelings. You love your car, you love your house, and you can feel bad if something happens to your house, not because you feel bad for the house, but you feel bad for yourself losing the house. You feel bad when you loved your car, and then your car turns in, it's falling apart. You have to get rid of your car, have it crushed, and you feel bad because that's been your car all those years. And sometimes, yes, it's true that some people name their vehicles. You give them little names, Big Red or something, and doing so kind of makes them like what's the word? Anthropomorphize? I forgot that word. Anthropomorphize? Is that it? I'm Googling now. It's so much easier to write, because then when you screw it up, okay, it is correct. Anthropomorphism is the attribution of human characteristics, emotions, or behaviors to non-human entities like animals, objects, or even abstract concepts. So they can anthropomorphize things in a way to solid objects. But in reality, those solid objects don't really matter, as far as they themselves aren't feeling it, So if you do that with your kids, in other words, you can enjoy your kids. Hey, this kid says, Daddy, Daddy, it makes me feel good. She's like, oh, all the kids think I'm the most wonderful mommy. It makes you feel good. And you do things with the kids that are fun, like, might go to an amusement park and it's fun. So you can use your kids to have fun and to make yourself feel good and have a big ego. But when it comes right down to it, if a kid gets annoying and in the way, like sometimes the person who annihilates their whole family, then it doesn't matter, because you're not really concerned that the kids don't get to grow up. You don't really care. You just don't, because they don't matter. Only you matter. So, and that's where Munchausen syndrome by proxy happens, because you have the baby, and while you're pregnant, everybody praises you, and then you have the baby, and everybody goes, "Oh, what a cute little baby," and then you get all this praise, and then you have to take care of the stupid thing, and it cries all the time, and you have to nurse the dumb thing, and it's just a pain in the butt. But if the baby dies, everybody's like, oh my God, how horrible, your baby died. And then you get all this attention again. So you're either useful or in the way. Yeah, you're an object. Yeah, you're an object. Asset or a liability is correct. Oh, yeah, well, yeah. Got lucky on that one, didn't she? She does. Access to hair dye. I thought her hair was gray, white, gray. I think that's her natural color. Yeah, as far as I know that. Let me look at her picture again here. Yeah, I think it's silverish. I think that may be her natural color. I'm not sure. I've seen her. The pictures of her. Let's look at. Okay, this is. See, I don't know. That's maybe her natural color. She's actually, if she has that nice silver hair. Now this looks like she's blonded it up. Like mine looks very red under here. It's just hair doesn't do well under the lights. But people say, why don't you just let your hair grow like that? Well, I don't have that color hair that she has. Mine is My gray is drab as all get out. If I had that beautiful silver gray, I'd go for it. It doesn't look that way. I'd have to get my gray hair dyed silver gray. Yeah. So, but I don't know. Maybe they do allow women to have. I don't know. I'm going to have to look that up. Okay, let me look that up. Do women get hair dye in prison? I don't. I think they might do that for your mental health. Generally, women in prison are not allowed to dye their hair with commercial hair dyes. However, some women find ways to subtly alter their hair using alternative methods like lemon juice, chamomile tea, or coffee rinses. In some cases, special permission or participation in authorized programs may allow for hair coloring. Interesting. For the most part, the answer is no. Fascinating. Yeah, depends on the state in it. Well, maybe. Yeah, it seems to say overall, generally speaking, no. She was a platinum blonde. She didn't look like she was a platinum blonde when she was being arrested. Let's go back to that picture again. Her arrest picture. Okay, so wait a minute. Where'd her arrest picture go? There she is. That's her arrest picture. She doesn't look like a platinum blonde. She looks like a silver-haired person. That's what I think. I think she looks silver-haired, and I also think in that where she's at the bar, she looked kind of silver-hairish there too. Let's see, let me look for the bar picture. Here she is, and she looks pretty silver-haired. I don't know, it could be just lighting, but she looks pretty silver to me. And she, so. There's no reason why she wouldn't want to go with that coloring, actually, because it makes her look older and safer, which she wasn't, So you think it's definitely silver. Cool gunmetal. I wish I had that color. Dang. There are some great gray hair dyes. Yeah, I might have to go for it one day because my hair just, it's just, ugh. And it's funny because my grandmother had pretty silver hair, but mine is just not that at all. Do I still have my red Miata? Yes, my red Miata is up on the lift right now. The clutch just went. So it's got 160,000 on it, I think. It's a 2009 model. We'll see if it's fixable or not. So my son is fixing the clutch and putting all new brakes on. If the clutch is fixable, he'll put the brakes on, and then I'll be back in business. So yes, it doesn't have a name. I should call it Little Red, though. It would be a good name for it. Lois even got a nice car of it. Would you have taken someone with a Corolla? Maybe not, but certainly one thing you want to make sure you do if you're going to target somebody for the vehicle is to make sure they don't have a red Miata, because a red Miata is obviously stands out everywhere. You want to go with silver, black, white. Stick with the basic colors. But if you pick a Toyota, Honda, that's even more invisible, essentially. So, she may have headed her in the bathroom to handcuff her to a handbar, which also muffles sound. I don't think she handcuffed her to anything. So, not that I know of. But I definitely think she herded both of them to the bathroom. For whatever, I don't know what she said, how she got them there, but I definitely think she did. And it certainly with the first crime, with the husband, he, since he ended up in the bathroom, and she claims she shot him immediately. I forgot to mention this. That's why people have to stick around. I forget things I forget to mention. She says he took it out and handed it to her and said, "Kill yourself." Well, then how the hell did he end up in a bathroom? Because if she shot him right away after he handed it to her, there wasn't a drawer in a bathroom, as far as I know. I mean, so I don't know. I wonder I don't know if they said where the drawer was from. And please understand, once in a while people go, "Well, you didn't get all your facts together." No, I didn't. This is a YouTube video for educational purposes. I'm not writing a book. If I were writing a book, I'd be researching the living crap out of every single bit of things I could get and make sure that every single thing was accurate and in order, and I didn't forget anything. But this is a YouTube video, and yeah, I don't spend a month on a YouTube video, because unlike some of the big, huge people with 1 million subscribers who have a team, I don't. So I can only put so much energy. And fascinating case, and as much as I could pull out of it. And let's see if there's anything else I wanted to say here. I think I covered all the rest of that. But yeah, I don't know. As far as I know, the gun wasn't in a bathroom drawer. So if it's not in a bathroom drawer, how did he end up in a bathroom? If he handed it right to her and she shot him? Not buying it. Hey, Pamela, can you get me some toilet paper from the bathroom? Now, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to kind of figure out how, if the person isn't going there to take a shower or in there putting on their makeup or something. Now there's always possibilities, and this is sometimes it's like the Brian Koberger thing. People ask me, what do you actually think happened in that house? What happened first, second, third, fourth? How did so-and-so act? Why did this happen? I'm like, I wasn't there. I wasn't there. First of all, I don't have access to all the crime scene photos. If I had access to every shred of crime scene photos and every one of the police reports, I might have a clear idea of what happened in that house. But I wasn't there. I wasn't there to see the exact how things unfolded, what Brian Koberger decided to do or not do. And he probably didn't know exactly what was going to unfold either. So things might be a surprise to him as well. And therefore he did whatever he did. And who knows why he did certain things. I don't know. So as far as them ending up in the bathroom, I mean, because they're both in the bathroom, it lends it to me that she herded them in there because she wanted them in there. It was a good place to shoot them and close the door. And if you're going to hang around for a while, shooting them on your bed, it really sucks, because then you have to go sleep someplace else, So I think it suited her to have them in the bathroom. And so I think she did herd them, and she was behind the gun, and they were shot. So they could have been backing up. She could have said, I don't know. I can't do a video replay on it. But as one, it's, if you look at the MO, both shot in the bathroom, both shot with the same gun, both have the bodies covered, both have the towels in front of the door. She stayed at both places past any time she needed to stay there. And then she stole their stuff and went on her merry way. That's really all we need to know, outside of curiosity and like to theorize over everything. That's basically what we need to know to put her away, because that's, quite frankly, the only thing that matters is making sure she never sees the light of day again. So I can't get the shower to work, Pam. That's actually not a bad one too. I mean, you can get somebody into a bathroom without them paying attention. The interesting thing is that they're both shot straight on, at least as far as I know. And the muffling it with a pillow is quite something. But yeah, she could have done that. She could have said, I can't figure out how to turn the water on, and I have to admit, some of those showers are freaky, because I went to my sister's house and I couldn't turn on her shower either. I'm like, what the hell is this? And I was like trying to turn things in all different directions, and I couldn't get the stupid thing on. I did have to ask my sister to come in there and show me. I did. So I could have backed out, let her show me, and then she goes, okay, I've done it. And she turns around and so yeah, very good. Yes, Pamela was covered as well. Yes. Yeah, Lois' face looks so happy and friendly. It does. She, generally speaking, I would have been her. I think I would have had drinks with her. I would have been. I'll tell you, this is also true. Now, I don't get, depends on people, but I've traveled a lot alone to other countries or whatever. And I'll tell you, traveling alone can be really rough, because most people are partnered off. And so you go to the bar, and the only reason people go to the bar is so they can talk to the bartender, because that's the only available other person there is. So you go to the bar and you try to pick a place. Let's say this is what you do. You pick up a seat which has an empty seat on either side, not two, because if there's two, then a couple will sit down and then they're useless. You try to pick up, if there's 3 seats, you try to pick the one in the middle just to screw things up, you see. Then you might get a single person to sit down on either side. Now, you may not really care if it's male or female. So it's not necessarily about dating. It's about having somebody to chit chat with. So if you happen to a nice guy sitting there, you might start a conversation. Nice female sits there, you start a nice conversation, because you're alone, and it's not fun to be alone all the time. So I've traveled, and I say it really sucks sometimes, because even if I love the place I'm at, I don't have somebody to share that with, and then I eat dinner alone. And I was used to traveling, so I wasn't one of these people that had to always go eat in a hotel, go back to my room and hide and watch a movie. I often did sit down, go to fine restaurants, treat myself. And I'd sit alone at the table, and then I'd have a lovely dinner. But a lot of times when I was traveling, I'd also maybe eat dinner at the bar just to be around other human beings. Sitting at the table with a book isn't always a thrill, So I would choose to sit at the bar, and if nobody showed up, hopefully the bartender was friendly. I mean, that's the way it works. So if I was sitting at that bar and Lois showed up, I'd probably be happy. I'd probably go, "Oh, this is great. I got somebody to talk to." And then she goes, "Hey, after we finish eating here, do you want to go over to the beach for a while and have drinks by the beach?" Cool. I got a new friend. I would have fallen for her. Would I have taken her back to my place and let her stay there? Not knowing who she was, that would make, as a profiler, I would hope that I wouldn't be so suckered into that. But the woman has driving an Escalade and has money, and she doesn't look like a drug dealer. She's her husband just dying. Would I have fallen? Who knows? It would have been embarrassing, and when the news came out, criminal profiler Pat Brown murdered by a woman she met in a bar. It would be embarrassing. Jeez. But, oh my God. Pat hustles. No, not hardly. Oh, that's interesting. I like to say the bar for safety in numbers. Interesting. I've never considered that. Yeah, she profiled her too late. It could be. Yeah, this is true. You think being smart would keep you safe, but you wouldn't see this one coming. This is true. I mean, I try to warn both male and female, about all the possible ways not to be fooled, not to end up in toxic relationships. I just put out the show Toxic today that I did. And I call the women the prey because they were prey, but they also fell for a lot of things they shouldn't have fallen for. So we need to learn all those things not to become prey to somebody. But there's always that one that you just didn't suspect, or you were in a mood, or you were drinking, because that's the other thing. People forget about this. They're at a bar. What happens to people at a bar? They're having drinks. They get their guard goes down. They're feeling happy, and they don't think as clearly. That's why you go to a bar and buy somebody a drink. Either you want to get them into bed, or you want to get a room at their place that night and kill them and take their car. Whatever it might be. So yeah, best not to have too many drinks. That is true. But even a couple of wines can make somebody just brings the guard down just a wee bit. That's also true. I guess Pamela would never have let a man sleep in her room. That's probably true. A man she just met, she probably was uncomfortable bringing him back and letting him sleep in the guest room. That's probably true. So unless you want to sleep with him. But then again, that's a lot of people do that too. They bring that guy back to sleep with them, and then they end up dead in the morning. So it does happen. I suspect everyone, especially since I started watching this show. It's a wise thing. Again, caution, patience, and sometimes saying no. Then when the person says those famous words, "Don't you trust me?" You can say, "Actually, no. I only trust my mother." and she's dead. But I trust people that I know extremely well, and I've learned to trust. And I've only known you for 2 hours. So in spite of the fact I think you're really cool, I can't say I trust you. And a decent person will, first of all, never ask that question. Anybody says, don't you trust me, and you've just met them, that's the person you should never trust. Because I would never ask a person that. I would never say, oh, don't you trust me? I can't even imagine saying that to a near stranger. Why the hell should they trust me, for God's sakes? They don't know me, you know? So, yeah, if they ask that question, you should run away right away, because you should not trust people that have not had a track record of being trustworthy. Now, mind you, some people who were around her probably did trust her because she took care of their children. They spent time with her and they thought she was trustworthy. So she did put on a very good, she had a good enough track record when you were still useful to her to not make you be suspicious. But there's somebody who just met her. They had no idea who this woman was. No idea at all. So it's unfortunate. Caitlin says, I've done a lot of dumb stuff in my youth. In our youth, there's two times when people seem to be more careless: in their youth and when they get a lot older. And I think when people get a lot older, here it's naivety, here it's loneliness. I think the loneliness propels a lot of people into stupid stuff. So, and indeed, she was that. She was definitely that. My clients ask me to trust them, then they'll pay me later. Oh yeah, no. Yeah, no, pay me. And as a matter of fact, it's better to get paid up front. And I actually, this is what I do with film production companies all the time. I won't even work for them anymore unless they pay me 100% up front, because I've been ripped off by major organizations. CNN owes me money. MSNBC owes me money. I had trouble with another documentary company, which I had to fight for. I went after them for like 6 months to get my pay. It was actually my half a pay because I had them pay me half up front, and then they didn't want to pay me the other half. And I finally got that only because they wanted to use me for another show, and they finally paid me because they wanted me again. And if they wanted me again, they actually didn't actually go forward with that, but if they had, 100% up front. And now I tell every production agency, 100% up front, and wire it straight into my bank account. Otherwise, don't show up with your cameras, because I'm not going to do it. You can sue me easier than I can sue you, because I don't have the resources you have, and you have massive resources. I do not. So you come after me, don't make me come after you. So yeah, pay up front. Thank you very much. So it's like, yeah, that's what they robbed me of that. But I got most of my money because I needed me again. But the same thing when the ladies come to clean my house, I put the money on the side, on the half wall when they come in cash. It's laying right there. So they walk in, they know they've been paid before they even start work. And that way they don't have to wonder if they finish, am I going to get paid? I mean, I do want them to come back every frickin' 2 weeks, but still, I always pay up front. So, yeah. Freelancing will teach you that the hard way. You are absolutely 100% correct about that. Yes. Always prepayment. Yep. How's Mac? Oh, Mac's, well, it's not here yet tonight, but he came in last night. For the hangout, I have little progress news. Yes. No, cat update. No, during the hangout. I do cat updates during the hangout during the week. All right. So anyway, I think I'll stop there. I think it was, usually I do shows where I'm analyzing the evidence for the purposes of just determining whether the person committed the crime or not, or who might have committed the crime. But in this case, we absolutely knew who did it. But the concept that she snapped is nonsense, that she likely was already early in life, the word that starts with P, and it just didn't. It's not that you can't. She's probably was highly manipulative all through her life, and people just didn't recognize it. And then when people became, not so useful and in the way, that's when she took action that you would not expect. But that didn't mean she changed her personality overnight. And you can see she does not have any remorse. She doesn't seem to care about her children. She doesn't blame herself for her son's death. She just, and she says, oh, and she snapped here, and she didn't mean to kill her. She blacked out and doesn't even know what happened because she was like, mind this crazy thing. So she's still taking, she says she's accepting that she did it and she's sorry she did it, but she's not admitting that she did it because she premeditatedly planned to kill him and her. That she's not going to ever admit because she's the P word. Oh my goodness. So thank you very much, Clarissa. So anyway, yeah, fascinating case because she's a pretty creepy woman. I'm not her. She's a very sweet woman, and I'm really sad. She seemed like a really nice person. Really, really nice. I wish you'd meet Pamela and not Lois, is what you wish. So, good Nacht. Thank you very much for being here, Christoph. I didn't see any of your comments today. I don't know what happened to them. Thank you, Liz. I look forward to Sundays as well, and I look forward to my group here. You're all really nice. Caitlin says, I've learned some lessons from this case. I'm middle-aged, travel alone, and this could happen. Yeah, And of course, my other channel, where's my other channel? Which is struggling along because YouTube is not being nice to me and not showing. This one, Dear Profiler Pat, this is my last one. Do I have to go to my relative or friend's child's graduation? Do I have to? So that's my other channel, and it's always linked below. I do some stuff on travel too because I've traveled a lot for work and for pleasure, and also I also led tours for ladies and different locations in the world which are unique, like Mongolia. And so I have a lot of experience traveling and a very successful traveler. I mean, everything almost always goes well, except when I was younger. And then I think, like, lucky I'm alive. But I address a lot of the issues. People keep asking me about travel stuff. So I think my next one I might do for that show, which I might do right after this, will be maybe something on travel. So I'm trying to add travel ones in. So because I do love traveling, but it comes with its pros and cons. You know what I mean? We get a lot out of it, but there are some things that you wish would be better. Like, for example, I say I've traveled a lot alone, especially for work, and it can be not so thrilling sometimes. You still maybe happy you got to see that location, but wish you could have seen it with maybe a little bit more company, or it was a little more fun, or whatever. But you don't want to put yourself in danger. That's always the number one thing that you want to make sure you come back from that vacation. Oh, I will not go there. I will not go there. Because apparently, well, everybody thinks dog people are the best people in the world, and if you're not a dog person, you're like, well, probably a psychopath. And if you have cats, you're like neurotic. So, and so I've never had a dog. I've always had cats, always had lizards, and my potbelly pig, and lots of other amphibians and stuff, and never been a dog person. And so does it make me a bad person? I have the 3 dogs next door now, and I pet them on the head, and I when I sit down, they like me, and they put their heads on me and sit on me, and and I pet them, and I like them. I just don't want one in my house. And I don't ever want to walk a dog. People keep saying, oh my God, that's a great way to meet people. No, I do not want to walk a dog. I always hated dog walking because the stupid things keep stopping and annoys the hell out of me. So, but, my daughter, who didn't grow up with a dog, just loves her dog. So there you go, Oh my goodness. What? I'd take in every critter if I could. Oh, you love both? Oh, okay. Christoph loves both. It makes you probably an even better person. What? People misunderstand cats. Yeah. Are you sure? Because, I think cats are high on the psychopathy checklist. But a psychopathy. Sorry, I said that wrong today. Psychopathy. Psychopathy checklist. But I would prefer to have them around than a dog. I would. Just, yeah. And so, yes, now I have a feral cat, which is pretty useless. pet, but I do see him. Last night I saw him for a whole hour. That was my off day. He spent a whole hour in my room with me, not with me, but near me, So, but yeah, I would have an iguana if I could. That's my favorite pet. So that makes me a very weird person. I know. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. And the hangout will probably be next week. It'll probably be 7:00 my time, which is Eastern, and Thursday, probably. So keep your eyes out on your messages. And oh, by the way, if you're still here and you're getting those double messages, I wasn't able to get I need somebody who gets my message. If they're getting 2 messages when you're only supposed to get 1, 2 at the same time, do take a screenshot of that and send it over to profilerpatbrown@gmail.com. If I get a copy of that, I can go back to Patreon and get them to stop it. They're asking me for screenshots of that, and I haven't gotten any. So I know one person said they tried to send it and didn't succeed for some reason, but profilerpatbrown@gmail.com. If you're getting those doubles, please take a screenshot and chuck it over to me so I can get that fixed up. So you all don't have to be annoyed with that anymore. I'd appreciate that a lot. Get that fixed. So anyway, so I'll see some of you on next Thursday for the hangout. And again, if you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe and join Patreon if you'd like to be here with this great group of people. See you later.